So it is 5:31 on March 28th, 2022, and this meeting of the Port of Olympia Commission is now called to order. The Port of Olympia is working diligently to address the threat posed by COVID-19 to Thurston County, the state of Washington, and the United States. On March 16th, 2020, the Commission adopted Resolution 2020-03, authorizing certain emergency powers in light of the COVID-19 outbreak, including invoking applicable emergency exemptions to meeting notice requirements and location restrictions of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 43.20 RCW. Pursuant to Resolution 2020-03, the Port of Olympia Commission is conducting today's meeting remotely. The Port is following the guidance from the Thurston County Health Department to take all efforts to prevent the spread of this virus and is acting in the interest of the safety and welfare of the public, the community, and our employees to limit its spread. One other note before we jump in, the Commission did have an executive session this afternoon. So I'm disclosing to the public that the executive session was held from 4 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. Regarding the potential performance of an employee and in accordance with RCW 42-30, Section 110, number 1I, and adopted port policy. No action was taken during the executive session. So thank you, and welcome everybody to our meeting. We should start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Commissioner Evans, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you very much. I'm sure you've all had a chance to look at the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda for this evening?
So moved. Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this evening. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And aye. Commissioner Evans, I think you were muted, but
sorry.
All right, so we have an agenda for this evening. Next up is Executive Director Report. Executive Director Gibney, the floor is yours.
Great, just one moment here. I need to. Great. Thank you, Sam Gibney, serving as your Executive Director. If you could go to the next slide, please. Here it is, our 100-year centennial logo. And I'm pleased to announce that we will be using this for materials, presentations, promotional items, etc., throughout the remainder of the year. And I don't know about you, but I think it looks really pretty cool. And so hope you like it. You'll be seeing more of it.
Nice.
Great. So I think I've been informing both the commission and the public that the marine terminal has been very, very busy, and we continue to be so. We've had at least 1 or 2 ships at berth for really, I think, the past couple months, and just in the past 2 weeks, we've had a log vessel and a steel coil import vessel that has been in. So the Marine Terminal staff and ILWU Local 47 have been working round the clock to ensure operations are running smooth and to prep for upcoming cargoes. We have yet some more interesting cargoes coming in. And so once again, my hat is off to the crew for not only recruiting this business, but then seeing that we provide the customers with the best service possible. Next slide. Speaking of service, we have Commissioner Ayel present a first visit plaque to the captain of the Global Round, and Commissioner Evans presented a first vessel plaque to the captain of the Yunnan. We are always excited to welcome new vessels to the Port of Olympia, and this is a tradition that we have to present them a plaque for the first time they call here. I hope you enjoyed your time out on the terminal.
I did very much.
Great. The commission authorized the executive director and legal counsel to retain an independent investigator to investigate a citizen complaint from January 7th, 2022, which alleged that newly elected Commissioner Evans had a conflict of interest based upon her work as a real estate agent. The port retained Mr. Peter Ruffito of Schmelik, Sitkin and Davis, and he has provided a memorandum regarding the potential conflict of interest, investigation, research, and recommendations. The memo concludes, and I quote, "Nothing in this memorandum implies or assumes that Commissioner Evans has at any time acted in her own personal interest or intends to do so in the future. Based on the analysis below and the facts as we understand them, there has been no violation of the Ethics Act." The commission also requested the recommendations for identifying future conflicts and steps that the commission should take when an individual commissioner may have a conflict of interest regarding an upcoming port matter. Mr. Ruffito further states, and again, I quote, "We provide a detailed discussion of the law and various means by which the Port Commission can avoid future violations in connection with the Panattoni project and more generally." The memo will be posted on our website later this week. Next slide. I am pleased to announce that the Port of Olympia Commission work sessions and regular meetings will air on TCTV channels 3 and 26, beginning with the March 21st Commission work session. The listing of the airing schedule can be seen here and is also found on the Commission webpage at portolympia.com. Next slide. The Port of Olympia is currently accepting applications for Marine Terminal Senior Manager, Airport Senior Manager, and Planning and Environmental Senior Manager. Applications can find more information and apply at the Port's website at portolympia.com. Applications are due by midnight on April 4th. Next slide. And it's not too late, but don't forget to take advantage of the Swantown Boat Works offer to get your boat ready for boating season. The offer includes a free wash with a one-way haul out or survey haul out through March 31st. You can contact Swantown Boat Works to schedule your haul out. Next slide. And as always, we have several ways for the public to engage with us. Here are just some easy ways to contact us, give us feedback, or request a conversation. And that's it for this evening. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Executive Director Gibney. Looks like Commissioner Downing has a question or comment.
A comment. Thank you, Chairman Ayel. Two things. One is thank you, Sam, for acknowledging that investigative report has been completed, and it's in the neighborhood of 24 pages long, and it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm sure that each commissioner has looked at it and will review it, and it gives us our marching orders going forward. I think it's a great document. And secondly, I don't remember the member of the public that came to us and asked us to put our meetings on TCW, but I want to acknowledge that the port does listen to the public and tries to be as responsive and open as possible. And I think that's a great move to have our meetings back on TCW after an absence of several years.
Thank you, Commissioner Downing. Commissioner Evans, anything?
Oh, exciting. Love the logo. Looks awesome.
Yep.
All right, thank you. So with that, we can move to litigation report. Do we have a litigation report this evening?
No.
nothing to report in the litigation. So that brings us to public comment and commission response. A written public comment may be submitted to commission coordinator at portolympia.com by 12 noon on the date of the meeting. All written comments will be compiled and sent to the commissioners prior to the meeting. If you wish to make verbal public comment during the meeting, we appreciate you signing up in advance by 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting by emailing commission coordinator at portolympia.com. Please indicate the method with which you will be giving public comment by computer or phone. Individual comments are limited to 3 minutes per person. If you could do that, we'd appreciate it very much. So I think we did have somebody sign up for, I believe Ms. Wolfsburg signed up for public comment. I see her on the call, and there was one other, I don't recall the name, but Ms. Wolfsburg, if you're ready, you have the floor now.
Well, actually, I'm sorry, but I was going to make my public comment a little bit later on the action calendar. So I could just wait and do it then.
Okay, that's fine. Was there anybody else like to make public comment this evening? I don't see any other hands. Okay, so with no public comment at this time, then I would assume there's no commissioner response.
I actually have a response
Okay.
to previous public comment, if that's okay.
Okay, Commissioner Evans, you have the floor.
I just wanted to respond to the Olympian article from Mr. Boone on the KGY lease. And I just wanted to clarify, I really appreciate you holding us accountable, Rolf, Mr. Boone, and working towards transparency and accountability. I think the article stated that we had said nothing official had been presented to us regarding the KGY lease. And you had mentioned in the article that that was not the case because we had discussed something around it in a previous work session. So I just wanted to clarify for both Mr. Boone and the public, nothing official had come before the commission. There had been discussion, but there are many good ideas that float out in the world and they don't necessarily result in formal action. So I just wanted to clarify, we are really doing our best as a commission to be transparent and hold ourselves accountable to that. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Oh, Commissioner Downing, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Chairman IL. I just want to recognize the 7 or 8 people that wrote to the commissioners expressing their interest in moving forward with the FAA, the work with the FAA to release that property under the Oriole Hotel. And so I just want to recognize those people publicly for writing in their comments. They're not here, but they did write in. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for that, Commissioner Downing. We always appreciate hearing from hearing public comment in whatever form it comes. And the emails today were to the point and gladly accepted. So moving on to the consent calendar. Consent calendar, we have approval of minutes from 2 meetings in October of 2021 on the 3 meetings on the 4th, 11th, and the 18th. And then 3 more meetings in 2022, January 6th, January 12th, and January 24th. And then the second item on the consent calendar is the bills and vouchers for February, batches 1 through 4. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the consent calendar. Needing no discussion, I'll call for the vote. All in favor of approving the consent calendar, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent calendar passes by unanimous vote. Okay, moving right along. Action calendar, resolution 2022-03, rules resolution revisions. Executive Director Gibney, you are up again.
Hey, thank you, Commissioner. Again, Sam Gibney, serving as your Executive Director. Thank you, Tracy. So as the Commission is aware, the conducting of the Commission business is governed by what we colloquially refer to as our rules resolution. Resolution 2020-02, it was the last time it was modified, and that was just in February of this year. There was some minor modifications to it regarding the calendar and the publication of the packets. The proposed revisions this evening are based upon Commission discussion at the February 22nd work session, and then our last meeting on March 14th. Next slide. The first proposed revision includes adding for the adoption of an annual Commission calendar. This would establish the dates of the Commission meetings, including work sessions of the calendar year in advance and typically at the beginning of the year. One of the advantages is this allows for meetings that are held following a Monday holiday on Tuesdays to be conducted as regular meetings and not as special meetings. It also recognizes our practice of taking a Commission recess, typically at the last 2 weeks of December and the last 2 weeks of August. Both these practices, the adoption of such a calendar aligns with the practice of many ports in Washington. Next slide. The next proposed change, I would like to note that there was discussion on this at the last meeting. The draft before you still has calls for the elimination of the Commissioner chat. Though I do note that there was discussion on this, and so I'll await your decision on it. Both the staff and the subject matter experts that were brought in to counsel the Commission recognize that the conducting of these individual chats really don't align with best practices, and that the elimination of such aligns better with Resolution 2021-03, your Code of Governance, and it aligns with the speaking with one voice principle. Nothing in this would preclude commissioners from meeting with constituents or attending other meetings. Next slide. Other potential changes, a call for the elimination of Commissioner response to public comment. Commission has had robust discussion of this in your Commission retreats and feel that this aligns with best practices and aligns with the principle of speaking with one voice. Next slide. There are other changes found throughout the document. Most of them are minor in nature. They're really not meant to change the meaning or intent of the document. They're just changing the use of Commissioner to Commission when referring to the body, and articulation of terms such as executive session. You do have a red line version and a clean version in your packet, I believe, and I'm happy to answer any questions before you consider action.
Commissioner Ayal or Chair Ayal,
Yes.
if
Commissioner
would we make a motion on what's been presented and then amend it if we wanted to change something, or would we amend it before making the motion
So
in this case?
what should take place is so they provided a sample resolution. You do not have to use that sample resolution. If you want to make a motion, you can make a motion as you want to word it.
Okay, so that makes sense. I would then move to proceed with these changes as presented, except for removing the Commissioner Chats change.
Okay, let's make sure we get this motion correct now. You are moving to
Modify the rules as presented with the exception of the Commissioner chats, which would remain unchanged.
I'm trying to get to oh shoot. My computer's acting on its own accord tonight. Okay, so you want to move to accept the changes in resolution 2022-3, except for removing the commission chat.
Correct.
Commissioner, if I might, I think that not to be too picky here, but I think the verb would be to approve the resolution as presented, except for the removal of.
Yeah, the way Sam stated it is probably more clearly articulates.
Okay. So you move to accept resolution 2022-03, except for the removal of commissioner chat.
The change, yeah, the changes to the resolution, correct.
I'll second for purposes of discussion.
Okay, we have a motion to accept changes to resolution 2022-03, except for the removal of commissioner chat. And we also have a second. So now we can move to discussion. Commissioner Evans, you made the motion. Would you like to start discussion?
Yeah, I appreciate that removing commissioner chats is best practices, and I do think that we intend to speak with one voice. I thought Commissioner Downing made some thoughtful remarks about how he had used the commissioner chats or seen them used in the past. I thought Deb Patton, our chair of the POCAC, also spoke out in support of maintaining those, as well as some public comment. I think as long as we are being mindful of our intent to speak with one voice, I think that leaving that in still meets the intention, and we're learning from the wisdom of Commissioner Downing and Deb Patton, who've seen this tool in action.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Downing, any comment?
Well, first of all, thank you to Commissioner Evans for recognizing my comments from 2 weeks ago. You know, I've given it further thought and I haven't changed my opinion. And I thought to myself, well, what is a commissioner chat? And as written in the resolution, commissioner chat is the ability to use the port's facility or the port's email blast to get the word out for a commissioner chat. And the rest is up to the commissioner. And also, if we didn't have that, then we potentially would be going to outside sources to get the word out. Commissioners can still speak with an individual voice by going to outside sources. And I draw your attention to sometimes we get, you know, large groups that petition the port on a given issue. And we don't necessarily want port commissioners to go to one particular interest group, but rather, you know, appeal to everyone equally. And so the port commission facilities enable us to do that. So, and of course I am a little bit biased because I was part of putting those commissioner chat guidelines together with the prior two commissioners. But, you know, I think that while looking at our rules resolution, and many of the changes are good and streamline the business of the port. This particular one is going to lay dormant until a commissioner decides the need to, have commissioner chats, and they can be valuable. And so I believe, I appreciate leaving the commissioner chats in place for the time being. And if we need to revisit it in a year or two, we certainly can do that. Thank you.
All right, well, thank you both commissioners for your comments. I think for myself, I was, my main concern was that it wasn't going to be, like a gag order. It wasn't going to be something that was going to stop us from going out there and talking to the folks in our districts about, about their visions for the port and how they'd like to see the port operate and what maybe the port could be doing for them. And as I'm sitting here listening to both of you talk, it kind of dawned on me that maybe leaving the port commissioner or the commission chat as in the policy could serve as some sort of accountability tool at some point. Not saying that it will or could or should, but it may well serve as some type of tool. So I think you both made very good points. And with that, we have a motion and a second, and we've had discussion, so I will bring it to a vote. The motion is to accept changes to Resolution 2022-03, except for the removal of the commissioner chat. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, thank you very much. Resolution 2022-03, accepting the changes to the resolution 2022-03, except for the removal of commissioner chat, has been enacted, and Executive Director Gibney can take the proper action. Moving to the next item on our action calendar is Resolution 2022-04, Small City Economic Development Program revisions. And that will be with our Executive Services Director, Lisa Parks. Ms. Parks, you have the floor.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. I'm bringing the topic of an update to the port's resolution governing the Small City Economic Development Program back to you tonight on the action calendar agenda as follow-up to the advisory presentation on this topic that was given at the March 14th regular commission meeting. Next slide, please. So at the March 14th meeting, I reviewed the Port's Small City Economic Development Program with you. This program provides economic development money to the cities in Thurston County that have a population of 15,000 people or less. As in recent years, there is $40,000 budgeted this year to support these cities in their requests, and that's typically in the amount of $10,000 per jurisdiction. We also discussed the Port of Olympia Economic Development Corporation, both in general terms as well as how it specifically relates to the Small City Economic Development Program. The Port EDC is a public corporation that was formed in 1983, in large part to help manufacturing and processing companies access a federal IRS program that allows for these public corporations to issue tax-exempt bonds as a conduit agency for these companies, which allows them then to borrow at lower interest rates for their investment. The Port EDC is an entity that's governed by as a board of directors that includes both the 3 elected port commissioners as well as 2 at-large appointees. And in the past, the Small City Economic Development Program was funded in part by fees that the Port EDC collected. So it was a requirement that the cities make their requests for funding at both a Port EDC meeting and a Port Commission meeting. In August of last year, the commission instructed staff to accomplish 2 things. First, to simplify the Small City Program by removing the Port EDC review step, which is a Port Commission action. And second, to draft updates to the Port EDC bylaws to reflect general updates and to allow for meetings to be called as needed, which is a Port EDC action. So the first task of those is the focus of tonight's action. We have brought to you a resolution of the Port Commission that would update the process for this small city economic development program by deleting that extra Port EDC review step. And it also clarifies and updates the timeline for project applications based on what is currently the practice. There will be future action of the Port EDC, which would be to amend their bylaws. That is something that will happen at some point in the future. We expect that to be sometime later this summer. And so the next slide presents for your consideration a suggested motion that would accomplish the step of amending the Port's Small City Economic Development Program and make it so that it is administered by the Port Commission exclusively. And I can answer any questions.
I would move to approve resolution number 2022-04, amending the Port Small City Economic Development Program to be administered by the Port Commission.
Second, I second the motion.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion on the floor to approve resolution number 2022-04, amending the Port Small City Economic Development Program to be administered by the Port Commission. Is there any discussion on this motion?
I would just, may I, oh, thank you. I would just say anytime we can streamline our processes to avoid redundancy, I think that's great that the staff's taking a look at where we can do that. So thank you.
Yes, Commissioner Downing.
Well, thank you, Chairman IL. I also support this because excellent write-up in the packet by Lisa. I think the EDC within the port has been in place, I think, since 1983, I believe. So it's been quite a long time. And years ago, it was a different set of circumstances. It was advantageous to have the EDC so that would streamline the requests and also the what's the word I'm looking for, Lisa? The money that was available, the funding. So anyway, I'm supportive of it, and I'm also supportive of streamlining it at this time. So.
All right, thank you, commissioners. I'm also in favor of streamlining and making things more efficient. It seems like this resolution accomplishes just that. So I will call for the vote. There is a motion on the floor to approve resolution number 2022-04, amending the Port Small Cities Economic Development Program to be administered by the Port Commission. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the motion passes and resolution number 2022-04 is enacted. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
Okay, moving on to number 3, FAA Land Release Consultant Contract. Rudy Rudolph, our airport director. Is he on here? Oh, there he is. Okay, Rudy, you have the floor, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. Again, for those who are not port watchers, I'm Rudy Rudolph, the operations and airport director at the port. Next slide, please. As a reminder to you all, the location of the parcel of land we're referring to near the intersection of I-5 and Tumwater Boulevard. Next slide, please. So here's the history. I'm not going to go over it in detail. All the information was in the packet and we've been through this a number of times. I'll summarize by saying the last event here was the Port Commission advisory that was presented to the Port Commission 2 weeks ago. Next slide, please. So at that advisory, Port Commission asked me to engage with the consultant and ask them to revise their proposal and break out a portion of the work to be done separately from specifically under a shortened task. And so the task that they have submitted is task 1.2, project administration for task 2, and then moving forward with task 2, memo to the port regarding other ports and airports and their relative success or failure in similar events, and then a memo to the port evaluating environmental review requirements and zoning implications. Next slide, please. So they broke out their notice to proceed one in the amount of $21,625, covering the actual task and the administrative support. Next slide. Once again, to review the challenges, they're the same as they were 2 weeks ago. There's no purchase and sale agreement between the owner of the hotel and the buyer of the hotel. There's no purchase and sale agreement between the buyer, proposed buyer of the port land and the port. The hotel property is in foreclosure with a May auction scheduled, and the project cost for this is not in the current budget. Next slide, please. And here's a sample motion. Authorize the executive director to proceed with the initial FAA land release task with Aviation Planning Group, and that should be LLC. I had a typo and didn't put that in there. Aviation Planning Group LLC, in the amount $25,000 to be charged to the Airport Newmarket Industrial Campus 2022 operations budget. Next slide. And I'll be glad to answer questions.
Well, I'm excited. I guess I will just go forward and make another motion to authorize the executive director to proceed with the initial FAA land release task with Aviation Planning Group in the amount of $25,000 to be charged to the airport/Newmarket Industrial Campus 2022 operations budget. Thank you, Rudy.
I'll second for purposes of discussion.
Can we go back to the, yeah, that one. Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the floor to authorize the executive director to proceed with the initial FAA land release task and Aviation Planning Group in the amount of $25,000 to be charged to the Airport Newmarket Industrial Campus 2022 operations budget. The motion has been made and seconded, so we can open up for discussion. Commissioner Downing, did you want to start?
Well, thanks. I had a question to Rudy. Did I see, did I miss it, a time period of this task one?
They did not supply a time period. They supplied a time period initially with the full scope in the neighborhood of 6 months. They did not supply a time period with the broken out task.
Thank you.
Commissioner Evans, any comment?
I appreciate you going back to them, Rudy, and allowing us to take this down in steps so that we wouldn't financially obligate ourselves to the large amount, but we continue to move forward. I really believe that fulfilling the port's mission of creating economic opportunities requires us to expand our lens so that we're not just looking at our traditional business interests, but also barriers that limit opportunity for all of Thurston County residents. And I think working with our jurisdictional partners to learn how the port can take action to address housing insecurity and instability supports our mission and creates a healthy economy for us all. So I'm excited that we are figuring out how we can be at the table on addressing this great community need. And I appreciate all of the public comment that we got surrounding this issue with a diversity of opinions, and that's where I landed.
Thank you both, commissioners. One more comment, Commissioner.
Well, let's go around the table. Chairman IL, if you'd like to speak before me, I guess I just have a follow-up.
Okay. Excuse me. I think I am definitely in favor of of getting this this analysis done and moving forward with this. I guess my only concern is that you know, if the auction is in May, if this gives them enough work, you know, are they going to be done with this before May, and is that going to kind of stall things out? Or I guess we'd be able to come back and maybe add another step if we needed to just to keep the ball rolling. I'd hate to get it going and then just a couple, 3 weeks down the road, get stopped on it again.
Could I respond to that, Chairman Ayala?
Sure.
One of the things that I think is great about this piece of research is we'll be able to apply this to our FAA property overall, because the information will be useful. So I think that it will really give us information moving forward to see how we can best utilize. We'll be able to use the information regardless. So I think it'll be money well spent.
I agree, Commissioner Evans. I think my only thing is in specific to this, to the Oyo Hotel. I just want to see that, you know, we're moving forward as quickly as we can. And I just don't want to see us get stalled down the road a little bit. I agree. This can be a really good information no matter what we're doing. So I'm all for getting it started. Commissioner Downing, you had another comment?
I appreciate what Commissioner Evans says in terms of trying to integrate community interests into the port's mission. Certainly this could fall under literally community amenities, which we're involved in, but really it's really not a community amenity. Whenever you talk about housing or climate change, climate crisis, you're talking about a gigantic threat to our way of life. And so I think that it's important when the port has an opportunity to do something in either of those areas that we step up. I mean, I think that we're rolling the dice with what I call several port dollars. And you know what a port dollar is, $10,000, so times several. And we're weighing that against a gigantic opportunity to provide housing for seniors that really need it, just like everybody else. I mean, we've got relatives, young people that can't afford their first house, but we also have seniors that can't afford a place to live. They might be living on Social Security, not much. And so, you know, we need to do what we can when we have these special opportunities. And part of the other reason why I'm enthused about this, about our chances, is just that the FAA is certainly concerned about an airport and supporting an airport in perpetuity, but this particular location is about as far away from the airport as you can get and still be on that FAA land. So I'm hoping they look at this and just say, well, it's way over on the fringe and maybe we'll make an exception this one time. So, you know, I'm enthused about this as well.
All right, very good. Thank you both. There are no other comments. We have a motion and a second. The motion is to authorize Executive Director to proceed with the initial FAA land release task with Aviation Planning Group in the amount of $25,000 to be charged to the Airport New Market Industrial Campus 2022 operations budget. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes. So Executive Director Givney, you can take action to engage the Aviation Planning Group. Thank you all very much. Okay, moving on to action other calendar. General Counsel Legal Services Contract. Again, Executive Director Givney, you are up.
Thank you, Commissioner. I'm here this evening to present to the commission for its consideration a authorization for a contract for general counsel legal services. Next slide. As the commission likely recalls, the 2021 port budget authorized a staff position to act as general counsel on legal matters for the port. Just recently, the person filling this position has left the port to pursue other career opportunities. While the port has other law firms serving as special counsel on specific issues, none are acting as general counsel. To fill this need, port staff solicited proposals from a limited number of firms and then evaluated those proposals. And staff now recommends contracting with the law offices of Richard L. Hughes, PLLC. The terms would be a one-year contract with an expiration of March 31st, 2023, and a not to exceed amount of $100,000. Next slide. And here is a sample motion for your consideration.
Thank you, Executive Director Givney. Commissioner Downing?
Yeah, I'd like to move to authorize the executive director to execute a contract with the law offices of Richard L. Hughes, PLLC, for the provision of legal services for a contract period of 1 year with a not to exceed amount of $100,000.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to authorize the executive director to execute a contract with the law offices of Richard L. Hughes, PLLC, for the provision of legal services for a contract period of 1 year with a not to exceed amount of $100,000. Discussion? So I believe now we would go to public comment. And so public comment on advisory, or excuse me, I jumped ahead. Public comment on action, other items, and then commission response. Let's see, this is where Ms. Wolfsberg, and I believe I remember too, I believe it was Mr. Carlson wanted to make a statement tonight. So Ms. Wolfsberg, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Carla Wolfsberg. I live in Tumwater. And my comment is regarding your action calendar regarding the FAA land release. So I don't see that there is a public comment listed there, but that's what I believe I wanted to comment on. So first of all, I'd like to thank the commission for moving forward on funding the AGP contract regarding the FAA land release. And I want to thank Commissioner Evans for her response to my email of March 22nd. I really appreciate the fact that you took the time to do that, and that you are said that you would like to do all you can to partner with other jurisdictions to address the housing needs. I also like to request that the minutes from the Port Commission meetings this year, specifically those from March 14th, 2022, be posted on the Port's website. I can't find any minutes from 2022 Commissioner meeting minutes on the Port's website. And that March 14th meeting is particularly of interest because that meeting, apparently, according to Port staff, was not recorded. And there was no information that it wasn't recorded, and I know that several people have tried to get that recording. So the minutes would, of course, been a great help. So I hope that you might consider posting your minutes for the meetings in 2022 soon. And I think that the 2022 meetings, I just can't find them. So if they're there, I hope someone could advise me. And I thought that perhaps Mr. Rudolph's slides from that meeting could also be posted because there's no visual, but that was very helpful, and it's good to have a public record, and I know that you're very interested in transparency, and I think that would be great. So I appreciate your work in getting that done, and thank you for moving ahead with the funding on this AGP contract.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfsberg. Any other public comment on action other calendar? Seeing no hands, we can go to the vote on the motion. The motion made was to authorize the executive director to execute a contract with the law offices of Richard L. Hughes, PLLC, for the provision of legal services for a contract period of 1 year with a not to exceed amount of $100,000. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Downing, you were muted.
Aye.
Thank you very much, sir. So the motion passes unanimously. Executive Director Givney, you are, one more comment, Commissioner Downing, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman IL. I couldn't resist. Literally, this is my last response to public comment, because tonight we passed a resolution saying that the commission won't necessarily or won't respond to public comment. So I want to thank Ms. Wolfsberg for her comments and her attention to the port. I also want to point out and apologize that we're just a little late on approving minutes. If you'll note in the consent calendar, we approved January minutes from the commission. So we just haven't got to March, early March yet, but we will get to those. And again, this is my last response to public comment. I just want to take advantage of it after 6 years. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner. Moving on then to the advisory calendar. Looks like this evening we have real estate and business development briefing with Alan Rowe, our business development and real estate director. Alan, if you are on, you have the floor, sir.
Good evening, Commissioners. Alan Rowe, Business Development and Real Estate Director. We just wanted to come to you tonight and give you a high-level overview of the real estate operations within the port and illustrating what we have currently going on and what we hope to do here in the near future. Next slide. The real estate department does manage the leasing and the disposition of all port land and spaces. We have a combination of both ground leases and then also space leases consisting of building facilities. We also support the other business units with their real estate needs. Primarily, these two units would be mostly the marine terminal and the airport and marina whenever it needs it as well. There's a team of 3 of us. We manage about 113 plus leases. Represents about $4.5 million in revenues for the port. And as you guys are probably already aware, the port does have holdings in City of Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater, and we're always looking for opportunities to expand that out into the greater Thurston County area. As I go through, I know that you probably have some questions. Feel free to just jump in during the presentation rather than trying to wait till the end. Breaking this up in just different areas within our holdings, we'll focus first on the Olympia area. Primarily, all of our properties are concentrated on the peninsula. We've got 20 leases and then one special I note here. We do either right of entries or license agreements for our properties sometimes for special uses. And these are just very short-term agreements, provides revenue to the port while we offer our land for certain needs. This particular one that we have active right now is supporting lot. They're utilizing some of our property for the laydown space for the construction projects that they have going on at their facilities. Within the Olympia Peninsula, we've got about $836,000 in revenues off of these leases. This does not include the marine terminal. That is separate from these figures. And as I'll show you here in a second, we do have very limited opportunities to grow both our development along with the revenues as well to support port operations into the future. Next slide. Here's an illustration of all of our properties. Some of these properties are leased, some of them are vacant. I've got another slide here coming up next that does highlight some more of the vacant areas. But we start really to the right is up to the north, and that's all the way at the very far north with our KGY lease. And then our property goes all the way down to the south and southeast, down to State, where the port has the Shell service station, along with the Westman Mill development down there, which the Westman Mill is on a ground lease.
A question for you, Alan, since you said we could jump in. So the KGY tower, so is KGY leasing part of that area as well?
Yes, it is. It's actually quite a separate lease from the lease that they have for their building on the north. It's the terms don't align. I know there has been some talk about the KGY building lately. Two separate leases, two very different terms as well. The KGY tower lease is a much newer lease, has quite a few years remaining on their term.
Well, are you saying that at the end of 2024, I mean, we're not really talking about KGY right now, but are you saying that that's two different actions? I mean, you know, I guess I would think that the tower is going to come down if there's not a KGY on the peninsula. So I guess that's my question. And also, is there, you know, underground infrastructure that also would be a concern?
Yeah, so we haven't had any conversations with KGY about this. Currently, the building term is nearing the maturity of its term. The tower lease is not, and it's an existing lease in place, and it's still theirs to do with whatever.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And next slide. Here's kind of some highlighted areas of open space, and really what I want to do for the commission is let you think about this as you know, you play your role in the future, and just realize kind of the limited opportunities we have here on the peninsula. Going up north again by the KGY area, there's a little over 2 acres of space that we have available there, and the Destination Waterfront project and planning efforts that had a few proposed uses by the community, community center, sailing center, hotel. And, I think those were the 3 primary ones that we heard out of that effort. Moving down to the south, you've got about 3.1 acres in there. That's in the vicinity of the marina office. Currently, we've had some planning efforts to resite the administration building, and then also partner up with some other organizations of possibly providing space as well for those in that area, along with consolidating our marina office into a new facility within that same building. Within that 3.1 acre footprint, we would also have a couple pad sites available for some other development in the future. Moving further to the south, we've got 2.5 acres there along the water. This, if you remember, was proposed for the RV park. We ultimately didn't get the text amendment that we were trying to obtain from the city of Olympia, so we could not proceed forward with that project. This site here is a little challenging for other development. We've got our shoreline setback that are required, and then as you see here, this is just a very long, narrow parcel. It's why it did work very well for what we were proposing for it, but for some other development, it's a little bit challenging.
Alan, can I ask a question?
Yes, Commissioner.
The parking lots that are adjacent to those two, from a long range planning perspective, are those completely unavailable, or would those be able to be joined for future plans?
Yeah, they could be joined. I think we have taken, I don't know if clean slate is the right term for it, but really just everything's open. You know, working with our architects and other planners, we have asked them to consider, you know, all resources in the area to really serve development and make something, you know, just make sense with what
So
we're.
the areas that you've highlighted, these are the ones that make the most sense. And you could incorporate some of these additional lands potentially.
Correct. Yeah,
Okay.
we can. And then also just keeping in mind of our current operation there with the marina, making sure that we're serving the needs of that operation as well. You know, within this 3-acre area that is highlighted, you know, we do currently have you know, dry storage for boats. We also have storage facilities for our liveaboards that then ultimately we need to find a home for as well if we do proceed forward with this. We've got a space across Marine Drive there. It's illustrated as 2.5 acres. It's probably a little generous because what's shown here does go into the marine terminal fence. You know, that this area is probably more likely 1.75 to 2 acres in size, but fairly open and flexible for any development opportunity there. Moving further to the south, you've got a 0.8 acre parcel right there by Boatworks, along with 1.3 acres. We call that the shark fin parcel just because of the shape. That there we are reserving for potential boatwork operations and its future needs. And then moving further to the south, you got an area around the Children's Museum with 2 parcels. And the Children's Museum did come to us prior to COVID and expressed an interest in leasing this property and kept this messaging through COVID, and also they obtained a grant that they could apply towards those efforts as well. So we have, while there's not a formal option agreement, we have given the Children's Museum essentially a handshake agreement that the port wouldn't entertain any offers without going back to the Children's Museum first. But that activity has increased a little bit in the past few months and may see something in the future. And then lastly, we've got the area.
Alan, real quick, kind of backing up a little bit on that 2.5 acres across the Marine View Drive or Marine Drive, the west side of it. Is that a retention pond in that blocked out area?
Yeah, that pond over there is for stormwater purposes, and there has been discussion it could remain there, or if a project made sense, we could take that underground as well.
Okay, thank you.
The other thing too that's not visible here is we do have parking requirements for some of our tenants around what we refer to as the market district, closer down to the farmers market. Some of our tenants within their leases have access to so much space for parking, or have the option to add that into their lease and essentially get area for additional stalls. And so this has been a constant juggling act over the past decade or two with the port, and making sure our tenants' needs are being served there from a parking standpoint. So currently that's that 2.5 acre area has been utilized to serve as some overflow parking for the farmers market, along with our other buildings in the area. And then lastly, we've got some space around Westman Mill that is under option with our current developer that's doing that project. Next slide. Up to the north in Lacey, we've got our Commerce Business Center. This consists of 3 buildings with 16 individual space leases. It provides about $600,000 in revenue to the port, and is a nice industrial flex space, providing small offices in the front of the buildings and some small warehouse space in the back. We see a lot of service-oriented businesses occupy those space. Going from left to right, we have building 1, 2, 3. Building 2 and 3 are multiple tenants, and then building 1 is one 12,000 square foot building with 1 tenant in that building. Next slide. Down to the south in Tumwater, we've got really what we call the airport, the new market, and the clean water campus as well. This all though falls within the airport umbrella. This is all considered airport lands, and it does have the FAA restrictions on it for revenue diversion. So essentially any revenue generated off of these properties do stay within the airport fund, or they call an enterprise fund for the airport. Essentially, the area within the yellow is what we deem inside the fence. A lot of that activity is handled by the airport director. We just serve a support role in that fashion. The area in the red is the New Market campus. Essentially, those lands are used more to support the airport, not directly for aviation needs, but essentially support the airport from a revenue standpoint, where the airport is being self-sustained by generating its own revenue by utilizing its lands. There are 35 leases on the airport. That does not include the individual hangar, small T hangar leases, but more ground leases for hangars. There's 30 leases in the New Market area. We've got currently just 4 leases within clean water. I'll show you that here in a minute. And in the airport fund, there's about 2.78 million in revenues off of these properties. Next slide. This area here, the parcels in yellow are leased parcels. The area in green are available parcels. This has somewhat changed just slightly, probably along Interstate 5 with some changes with one of our tenants out there. But most of the area to the west, which is to the left, is encompassed within the Panattoni option agreement. So all of those green areas are within that option. And then really the only larger track available within the airport is down to the southeast, which is probably 150 plus or minus acres there. That has seen some activity in terms of a lot of inquiries for development there. We are still sorting out some issues with the habitat conservation plan and what sort of habitat restrictions that property may or may not have. Next slide. The clean water buildings. This is an area just to the north of the airport across the Tumwater Boulevard. It is port-owned property. This development went through a ground lease and then reverted back to the port. And the port inherited these buildings, made quite a bit of improvements on the site with parking lot upgrades along with other utility infrastructure improvements. And then this is these smaller buildings are 6,000 square feet. And then we've got one building down in the lower corner there. We either call the H or the I building. And that's about 18,000 square feet there. The process has been to essentially sell off the buildings to a new tenant for a very low price, and then continue that relationship as a ground lease just under the footprint of the building. The new tenant then takes on all of the remodel requirements. We do have design standards that must be met out there. And they'll go ahead and remodel and reconfigure the building to meet their needs, along with aligning with our development standards, and then go ahead and own those improvements versus the port leasing out the space, which also means the port then doesn't need to make the enhancements to the building. Currently, we only have a few of those leased. We're still working at moving forward and trying to lease the remaining buildings. Again, kind of back to those service-oriented businesses. We're really not seeing the retail demand in this location. For example, get more inquiries for, medical, chiropractor, veterinarian, and then also within the past year has been a lot of educational inquiries. We do have an area to the west that also has this H&I building. That's about 7 acres. We do want to push our marketing efforts on that just because this entire parcel is essentially impervious. It is paved and therefore does have some redevelopment opportunity due to the fact that there should not be any gopher impacts on this site and those challenges. Next slide. Moving forward, really what keeps us busy is keeping the projects with Panattoni within that option area, trying to move those forward. As I mentioned, to the southeast of the airport, we do have a potential option agreement, depending what gets worked out with habitat concerns there. The Secretary of State's office is leasing a portion of the Newmarket industrial campus, and they would like to execute a lease by the end of June with the port for that facility. Discuss clean water. We also, as you know, you approved a new lease for the gas station. I appreciate that. That's going through the transition process here this next week with our old tenant vacating, and then we'll be having a new tenant come in on May 1st. We're constantly watching the portfolio and entertaining any offers and evaluating offers on our properties. We have seen one recently with the CBC complex that we're considering. We are also working with Lot for the possible acquisition of some port-owned land down on the peninsula. I mentioned the Hands-on Children's Museum, and then continuing to move forward with Destination Waterfront and Vision 2050 goals, as well as we keep everything in mind. Next slide. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Alan. That was
Question?
very informative. Commissioner Downing, you have your hand raised.
Thanks, Chairman IL. Alan, isn't there a little tiny sliver of port land over on West Bay near Rotary Park or some such thing?
There is, Commissioner.
But that's not useful for anything, correct?
No, we looked at it before, just really seeing, you know, how it could be utilized for anything. You do have the shoreline setback requirements out on that property, which pretty much encompasses the entire property at that point.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Evans, any questions or comments?
Well, I obviously have a bias in the fact that I think real estate is really cool because we get to meet the needs of our community, whether it's distributing goods or housing insecurity, as we discussed today. So, Alan, I think you're doing a great job. I think as we continue to balance mission versus margin, and find things that can be profitable, but can also help us, you know, create economic opportunities and amenities for the community. Real estate's going to be a great way for us to accomplish our goals. So I also just wanted to say that I spoke with Michael Cade recently of the Thurston County EDC, and he just recognized both Sam and Alan and how he wasn't sure that they had been recognized for what a great job they did in 2021 in advocating on behalf of the port from a real estate perspective. And he really, that was completely kind of unsolicited, and he just really wanted to say what a great job Sam and Alan have done. So the community recognizes your efforts. You guys are doing a good job. So thank you.
Nice.
All right, thank you, commissioners. Yeah, Alan, that was a great presentation. Very informative for me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, commissioners.
So we can go now to public comment on the advisory calendar. Is anyone like to make some public comment today? I'm not seeing any hands. I'm not seeing any hands, so we have one hand, Ms. Wolfsburg.
Yes,
Ms.
hi,
Wolfsburg,
thanks.
you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. I'm Carla Wolfsburg from Tumwater. I just wanted to make a comment about what Mr. Rose said regarding the destination waterfront. And I'm sorry it went by pretty fast, but he did say something about that the public wanted like a sailing center and I guess some other things. And then he mentioned a hotel. And my recollection, and I have a lot of notes from this, those discussions, is that the public was not at all interested in a hotel. So I just want to put that on the record, and I think that it should be investigated because I honestly do not think that in those surveys that went out that the hotel ranged in anywhere in the public favor. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Ms. Wolfsburg. Anyone else have a public comment this evening? Commissioner response? Commissioner Downing, do you have any response to Ms. Wolfsburg? No? Commissioner
thank you.
Evans?
Oh, no, don't get to do that anymore, right?
All right. Well, thank you, Ms. Wolfsburg, for your comments this evening. We do appreciate that, your participation very much. And then thank you again, Alan Rowe, for a outstanding presentation this evening. Very informative and eye-opening. A lot of opportunity there. Okay, moving on to commissioner reports and discussion. Commissioner Evans, would you like to start?
Sure, would love to. I just wanted to let you, my fellow commissioners, know that the custom-made travel mugs from the Lacey Makerspace are waiting for you at the port offices. So I was a little slow in getting them delivered with the Omicron closures and whatnot, but they just were saying thank you for our support, and they're very cool. They're made on the machinery that they have at the Lacey Makerspace. I've been asked to serve on the executive committee on behalf of the port and have had some conversations about how we can continue to interface and also maybe opportunities for more workforce development in addition to the hobby and craft elements of what they're doing out there. So I think that could really tie in well with some of our efforts with City of Olympia and Lot and just all sorts of who knows what. So look for those. I was wondering if Executive Director Gibney could comment on Ms. Wolfsburg's request. Commissioner Downing pointed out that the minutes hadn't been approved yet. Can you comment on the location of the minutes and how we can communicate that, as well as the recorded sessions? Obviously, we're moving to a new system, so it should be easier for the public. But then she also mentioned the slides, if there's a way of having those. Can you comment on that, Sam?
Absolutely. So yes, the commission just adopted the minutes for the January meetings, and so they will be uploaded likely this week for 2022. We'll have February minutes, I believe, at the next meeting for you to review and then approve, and so then they will be posted. So they just haven't been approved yet. I will note and thank both the commission and the public for their patience. Typically, we turn them around a little bit sooner, but we've been very short-staffed without an executive coordinator and commission coordinator position. So they are forthcoming, and the minutes are in the packet. As far as the PowerPoint things, if Ms. Wolfsburg or anybody else would like to, you can go to the website, and then there you click on commission, you go to the details, and you can get to the agenda packets, and that's where those will include the PowerPoints. So, and Ms. Wolfsburg, if you have any problems at all with that, by all means, email me, and I know that you've been corresponding regularly with Jenny Folia-Jones, and she's been responsive to you. So, but they are there for your viewing, and we keep them up for a good period of time. I think at least 3 years. So you should be able to go back and look at them.
Thanks, Sam. I have found reminding myself that the PowerPoints are in the agendas has helped me when going back. So yep. I hope that answers your questions, Ms. Wolfsburg, and I do think we're getting our system organized. If there's other things we can do, please bring those to our attention. I didn't know where the agendas were for the first month, so it's a learning curve. The other thing I just wanted to say is the area that I probably had the least experience with was the marine terminal, and it's just been so fun to engage with Connolly and Dan and Kelly and their whole team down there. You saw the plaque presentation, and there's just been so much cargo coming in and out, and they're doing such a great job. So that's it's fun. It's amazing. You think about ships coming from all over the world and different cultures and supporting that. So it's one of the really neat and unique things about the port. I think that's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Evans. Commissioner Downing, anything to report?
I do want to thank you, Chairman IL. I do have one thing to report, which I attended the Capitol Lake meeting of March 16. And I just like to start out by saying, Rolf Boone from the Olympian followed up with a story in the Olympian. And I hope my fellow commissioners understand that kind of what was discussed at that meeting is what has transpired in the past. So for example, they talked a lot about decision durability. And really it's kind of like, in plain terms, it's a vote on where people stand. So in addition to doing the EIS, they wanted to know ahead of time, how people felt about the different possible outcomes. And so this was done under the last commission. So I want to say that even though the meeting was last week, it was a review of what happened in 2021. So we have not discussed formally where the port stands today on the estuary versus lake debate. Not that it's on our agenda and not that we have anything to talk about because this EIS has been in process and the report is yet to be issued. However, you may have seen an email and you certainly perhaps saw in the paper in the Olympian that the people putting the EIS together have said ahead of time that they're going to choose the estuary as the preferred alternative. So then getting back to this decision durability thing, which again is a thing that came out in Q4 of last year, and it asked the city of Olympia, city of Tumwater, Squaxin Tribe, the county, and the port, how do you feel about this overall? And they gave a ranking. The Port of Olympia's ranking was towards, let me put it this way. The Port of Olympia was the only entity that favored slightly the managed lake, whereas Olympia was almost unanimous in wanting the estuary. Squaxin Tribe was unanimous in desiring the estuary. Tumwater was not quite unanimous, but close. I can't remember about the county. Then they had a community sounding board that even weighed in. So I just want to say that's kind of what unfolded. And the big takeaway is that the EIS, they've announced the preferred alternative that will be coming out in the EIS, and barring some unforeseen event, that's what they're going to go with. And I just like to reiterate, because I think, of course, me, I speak up and, if there's some dead air, I can't resist weighing in. And it's my own personal feeling, but that, it's hard for me, but, I'm kind of on the side of a managed lake, but I'm only one commissioner, and we haven't decided as a body, as a new body, how we feel about lake versus estuary. And really, let's look forward, I would say, to the next steps, which is, how we're what's the best actions to take for water quality, and what's the best actions to take for sediment management, because as a deep water port on Puget Sound, we have to be concerned about the sediment flow and so on and so forth. So a lot remains to be seen. The DES announced that they're going to schedule a meeting with the port to begin discussions about a dredging plan. That was a takeaway from the meeting. Other than that, it was a pretty good meeting. It was about 45 minutes long. So I just wanted to report back to you on that, and also try to report that, I didn't really try to say anything about how the Port Commission feels today, because that would not be in my place.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Downing. That's a very comprehensive report on that meeting. I appreciate that. That's good to hear. And yeah, that certainly is something we should discuss as a commission. So we can show what our position is. Okay, I guess it's my turn. So I did meet with the captain of the Global Round down at the Marine Terminal. That's a log hauling ship, and met the captain there and presented a plaque. Not exactly sure what I expected, but it was an interesting trip onto the ship there. I commend those people who work on that ship and are out to sea, and the conditions don't seem to be that great to me. So, I mean, they've got to really love what they do, I guess. But that was very good. And echoing Commissioner Evans, probably the best part of the day was getting to meet the Marine Terminal staff down there and seeing the log loading operation. Really good to see that, and a good learning experience for me. Got to go inside the warehouse and see they had a bunch of hay in there, getting ready to be transported. So that was also good to see. The other thing I attended the steady meeting last Friday. The meeting was held on the Nisqually Reservation, so I wanted to attend as a member of the tribe and our tribe's economic development board. So I was there. George did ask me for an update on the port while I was there, so I did mention about this being our centennial year, and some fun activities are being planned for the summer and the rest of the year, and just mention too that we are planning and looking forward to consulting with those South County communities. So that's my report for today. If there's nothing else there, we can move to other business. Is there any other business anyone would like to discuss this evening?
I have something, Chairman.
Commissioner Evans.
I would like to make a motion to add a work session regarding an internal newsletter to staff from commissioners to communicate and recognize staff accomplishments. You don't have to write all of that. I will make a motion to add a work session regarding an internal newsletter.
So are you motioning for a separate work session or a work session agenda item?
A work session agenda, well, I guess I don't know. Which one is it, Sam?
I think it would be an agenda item.
Okay, an agenda item. Thanks.
Okay, and it's a work session agenda item to address.
Internal newsletter from commissioners.
Okay, that wasn't so hard.
I'll second for purposes of discussion.
Okay, we have a motion to add a work session agenda item to address an internal newsletter from commissioners. And we have a second, so we can open it for discussion. Commissioner Evans, would you like to start? You made the motion.
Sure. I am excited about the coming out of COVID and the new page that we're turning with the port, and as the leadership, I think that it would be great if we could communicate our appreciation and our engagement with the staff on a regular basis. Again, to set that culture and tone that we are aware of what's going on, we're appreciative of what's going on, and some sort of regular newsletter that met the requirements of the OPMA, and we worked with staff to appropriately do that. I think would be a great step in the right direction.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Downey, any comment?
Well, thank you, Commissioner Evans, for laying that out. I look forward to a work session to hear more details about this. My first reaction is a positive one.
All right, thank you. I am certainly in favor of adding that to a work session agenda. I think anything we can do as a commission to help promote a positive culture to our staff, I think is is appropriate and needed. I know in most organizations, one of the key things to attracting and retaining key employees and good employees is to stay engaged and stay communicative and show your appreciation for their efforts. And one of the key things is to always encourage and uplift and understand that everybody has goals and desires and dreams, and what we can do to work together for everybody to accomplish those, I think is well worthwhile. And so I think this is a good discussion item. So I'm also in favor. So that being said, I'll call for the vote. The motion is to add a work session agenda item to address an internal newsletter from commissioners. And all in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. The motion passes 3-0. So Executive Director Givney, we can add that to a work session agenda. Are there any other business items to discuss this evening? One more from Commissioner Downing. Go ahead.
I got a short one, just to keep the issue in front of us. I was contacted by another entity that is interested in working with us to secure perhaps some grants for shore power installation. So I think there's a lot of interest in some of the things that the port has said in terms of electrification and lessening our global or carbon footprint. These are good things if we can pull them off. And, I think that it's somewhat common knowledge that there's a fair amount of grant money out there right now. So I look forward, it's already on our work session agenda to have one of these groups come in and talk to us. So I look forward to that happening in the near future.
All right, thank you for that comment. If there's no other business, we can move to meeting announcements. Executive Director Givney, you have the floor.
Great, thank you, Commissioner. So again, in keeping with the revised resolution, the next week will be a week where we do not have any commission meetings, regular scheduled commission meetings. So our next one will be our commission meeting on April 11th at 5:30 p.m. After that, April 18th is the commission work session at 2:30 p.m. And then our second regular business meeting of April 25th at 5:30 p.m. These meetings continue to be held remotely, and they are recorded live and are typically posted to the port's website. Again, I will address here Ms. Wolfsburg's point that she pointed out that we did have a technical issue with our last commission meeting, and we tried to recover the recording from Zoom, and it just wasn't there. So unfortunately, we are not able to post that recording.
All right, thank you, Executive Director Givney. So with that, we've completed our agenda for this evening. And I'd just like to thank everybody who participated tonight. Rudy, Lisa, Alan, Executive Director Givney, our fellow commissioners, and all of the public who attended this evening. Thank you all very much. With no other agenda items and hearing no other business, I call this meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.